Hi, I'm Jake Jenkins, and this is the Behringer RD-9 Rhythm Designer. The RD-9 is Behringer's authentic interpretation of the iconic TR-909 drum machine. I've had the opportunity to spend some time with this unit in my home studio, and it's been a blast. The RD-9 is a spectacular analog-digital hybrid drum machine that shares all the hallmarks of its legendary inspiration, the Roland TR-909. For those who aren't familiar with the TR-909, here's some quick history. Released in 1983, the TR-909 was the follow-up to the TR-808. It was Roland's first drum machine to include MIDI, and it had crisper, more defined tones than the 808. The 909 also replaced the 808's analog hi-hats and cymbals with digital samples for heightened realism, which is what musicians were demanding at the time. Unfortunately, the 909 was commercially unsuccessful and was discontinued after 2 years in production. You've heard the 909 in music by Aphex Twin, Orbital, Skinny Puppy, Bjork, and even Phil Collins. And of course, who can forget Technotronic's Pump Up the Jam, where the 909 takes center stage, churning out a propulsive 4-on-the-floor rhythm. To my ear, the RD-9 nails the character of the original. Is it a one-to-one replication? Well, several shootouts have popped up on YouTube, so give them a watch and judge for yourself. That said, it's definitely got a spot in my studio waiting for it, so let's check it out. The Behringer RD-9 is a true hardware drum machine, and it comes in this awesome vintage-style beige chassis. It features 11 different drum sounds, and let's just go ahead and take a listen to them. First up, we have the bass drum. Next up, the snare. The trio of toms, low tom, mid tom, and high tom. We've got a rim shot, a closed and open hi-hat, crash and ride cymbal, and maybe my favorite part of the entire drum machine, the clap. It's just an incredible sounding clap. Of course, the Behringer RD-9 also features some modern upgrades to the original unit. So you have USB MIDI capability on here, which means that you can sync this with your DAW either to control the tempo or actually use it to program sequences within your DAW and play them through the RD-9. Behringer's also included this cool effects section, which is comprised of a wave designer, which you can send out to the individual drum sounds to tailor the attack and sustain characteristics. You also have a dual mode analog filter with high pass and low pass settings and a resonance control. So while you could sequence the RD-9 from your DAW, a big part of the appeal is the built-in 64-step sequencer. If you're coming from a software sequencing background like I did, wrapping your mind around a hardware sequencer can be kind of challenging. So to get you started, I'm going to show you how to program in a quick pattern. So the first thing you want to do is select a song. Next, choose a pattern. We'll go with pattern 1 of song 2. And let's see if anything's on there. Okay, so we've got a beat, but we want to clear out that beat and make our own. So what you're going to want to do is hit erase, pattern, pattern 1, and erase again. Now let's check to make sure nothing's on that track. And it's empty. To start building your pattern, you're going to want to enter step mode and then press record. I always like to start with the kick and a snare. We'll do something very simple for the purposes of this demo. We'll do a kick on 1, and you'll notice that the light's gonna flash the first time you hit it. There are 2 velocity modes when you're programming a beat. A lighter velocity mode and then a full-on velocity mode. So that's your louder, punchier kick. Next up, let's do a snare drum on 5 and 13. We'll set those both at full velocity and then just hear how that sounds. We made a beat. Amazing. Okay, now let's add some closed hi-hats, an open hi-hat at the end, and then let's just double up our claps on the 5 and the 13. There you go. It's as simple as that. So that's a good jumping off point. I know that if you just got your RD-9, you're really eager to program it, you want to sit down, tap out a quick beat. But there's a lot of exploration that can happen. Try out random grooves and patterns and see where it takes you, and then start chaining those patterns together to build really cool songs. If you want to go deeper and really learn how to program your RD9, I highly recommend checking out internet synth expert Starsky Carr's video on the RD9. We'll link to that below. One thing I can't forget to mention about the RD9 is the inclusion of an authentic mode and an enhanced mode. The authentic mode is exactly what it sounds like. The RD9 behaves like the original unit. But with the enhanced mode, you have a couple more features that give you more control over sound shaping. So that means on the kick drum, you have an additional pitch and pitch depth control, and you also have tuning and decay controls for the hi-hats. But if you're really picky about the shaping of your drum elements, I totally recommend enhanced mode. That's the way I've been using it for the last couple of weeks, and I love it. All right, so let's make some music. To put this in a real-world creative context, I brought in some other gear to the party. I've got the Behringer ZNX 1222 USB mixer, and that's going to let me take advantage of the RD9's individual outputs, so then I can have control over the panning and the level of each one of the drum components. On top of that, I'm using the auxiliary sends on the mixer to pull in the Erica Synth Zen delay and the TC Electronic M100 multi-effects unit. Rounding it out is my Studio Daily driver, the Behringer Odyssey analog synthesizer. All right, so what are my final thoughts? All in all, the Behringer RD-9, it sounds great, it's incredibly well built, and the sequencer shook up the way I approach drum programming. And in fact, while it isn't as flexible as sequencing within a DAW, I felt like its limitations sparked my creativity rather than hindered it. Now, there are lots of ways to access 909 style sounds, from sample sets to soft synthesizers, but a big part of the RD9's appeal is the experience of using it as a production and performance instrument. If you like getting hands-on when creating beats, then you'll truly enjoy the RD9. If you have any further questions about the Behringer RD-9 analog digital hybrid drum machine, please contact your Sweetwater sales engineer. I'm Jake Jenkins. Thanks for watching.